Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be making a wooden swedge block. Thanks for watching. Okay everyone, this here's my old wooden sledge block that I've made a long time back. This one's lasted me about 6 years, and I've forged a lot of copper on it and other various forms that I've need shaped without marring the finishes. So today I'm going to show you how to take and get to doing this. I'm going to share a few helpful tips and hints for when you try to undertake this yourself. So let's get started. Okay everyone, there's a few tools you're going to be needing for this job. First and foremost, a set of hearing protection, your layout tool, a simple set of dividers, your consumable, a 4.5 inch or a 4 inch 36 grit flat disc wheel, and last but not least, an angle grinder. You can use an angle grinder of any type or sort. I will put a complete list of my tools that I use and links to where you can find those tools in the description down below. The first step in doing this process is you have to find a good piece of wood to do it in. I do not recommend soft pine like you would find at a hardware store. It does not last as long. So that's something to keep in mind. This here, I was fortunate enough to get from a friend who had a local sawmill down in Kentucky. I believe it was northern Kentucky, that was doing end cuts off of railroad ties. So this particular piece here is a red oak railroad tie end cut. Oh, very stout wood. Of course, railroad only uses the best lumber in their stuff. So this is very handy to me. If you don't have this, you can usually find some pretty good stumps and things of that nature. Just go look around after a big windstorm. I know it sounds bad, but people are usually getting rid of some trees that have fell over, and wood is pretty easily found. So, with that being said, you want to go into the side grain of your stump, not the end grain. And I'll tell you why. So, if you go into the end grain, especially in a small stump like this, or a small cross dimension stump like this, I have found that it has a tendency to want to split and break apart eventually, and that's just no good. So the swedge block that I have had for the last 6 years has been in the side grain, and it is held up to a ton, and I do mean a ton of abuse, and it's still holding up. So start with a good material and go into the side grain, and you'll have a stump that will last you a really long time. The one exception to this rule is if you have a large enough diameter stump that you're putting your depressions in, you can go into the end grain. But it has to have enough mass that your repeated hammering on it is not going to cause it to want to split. So the first step of this process is we're going to scribe out our line, scribe out our circle that we're wanting. You can make this any size that you'd like, whatever tickles your fancy. We're just going to go with something about like this, and we're going to scribe it in. So what you can do with this also is after you get this scribed in, you can make smaller circles on the end grain. You can squeeze that in a little bit and make smaller depressions that are just as handy as larger ones. And you can grind those out as well. So we're going to use the grinder here, and we're going to take and dish these out. I'm going to do a time lapse for this part. It doesn't take particularly long, so I'll just go ahead and point out a few tips. One tip, do not force the flat disc into the wood fibers. What it will cause it to do is it will cause the sanding disc to load up with wood fibers and smear and like glaze over. And you'll notice that you'll start charring the wood as you sand through. And when you do that, you just ate up a brand new sanding disc, and it doesn't cut the wood as great. So take your time and remove a little bit at a time. Also, you're going to start at one point in the center with the angle grinder in the upwards position like this. So this way the curvature here of the angle grinder is making the radius of the bowl as you cut around. So hopefully you'll be able to see this in the time lapse, and I'll be right back with you guys once I get that far. Okay, and there you have it, guys. As you can see, we've got these two depressions in here. So this depression isn't really deep, and it doesn't have to be to sink work. You just need a depression enough that you can stretch the material down into whenever you're doing copper work or steel or thin sheet steel or things of that nature, and to form your bowl around. These two sizes right here I have found to be the handiest. This here is about a 5-inch size, and this is just a little hair under, about 4 inches. And this is great for a lot tighter work, where you're trying to create a much tighter radiused piece, as where this is a little broader work. I have found these two sizes here gets me by for everything up to, well, I think the largest bowl I forged on them to date was about 2.5 foot in diameter. So you can do it with some pretty simple tooling and equipment. So what's the next step? Well, there is a next step. You would think that this would be enough to take and protect this block, but it is not. We need to actually treat this block, and the way we're going to do that is with flame. You guys have seen how they char hammer handles. It is the same thing. Without the charring, what happens is you see all these exposed fibers of this wood and these wood grain fibers. They have a tendency to want to start making the piece chip and splinter out after repeated hammer blows. So charring the wood in this nature, charring it up before you use it, or bringing out a piece of material hot and using it for its first time hot, is really the best way to season the swedge block indentations that you've done. Like I said, I've had a swedge block now that I did 6 years ago. I did this method, and the thing's holding up great. The edges are less crisp, but that's because I've worked big plates of hot metal on it, and it's burned away at some of the outside edges, and it has less of a defined thing. If you work cold material, you'll be perfectly fine. So the next step in this, I will go ahead and take it in the shop. I will go ahead and give it a good charring, and then I'll be right back with you. So hopefully everybody's enjoyed this video so far. I'll just go ahead and put a picture of it at the end of the video here. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope this is informational to you. If it is or isn't, chuck a comment in the comment sections. I greatly appreciate hearing feedback of all kinds. I may not necessarily agree with your feedback, but hey, that's how the world works. Everybody has an opinion, and they're like armpits. Most people have 2 of them. Anyways, thanks for watching. Give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a big thumbs down if you disliked it. As always, check the links in the description for all sorts of goodies, and we'll catch you on the next one. God bless you all. Have a great day.